A forward slip is a technique that pilots can use to lose altitude quickly while making an approach to land, while maintaining an acceptable airspeed for a stable approach. While conducting a forward slip, the pilot uses their aircraft's fuselage to create more drag, which in return causes a quicker descent rate. A pilot may conduct a forward slip if they are too high during their approach to a runway, or to lose altitude after clearing an obstacle. Also, in aircraft not equipped with flaps, forward slips are commonly used to descend without increasing airspeed when landing. While on the final approach to a runway, the pilot visually checks the windsock to obtain the latest wind information. This will aid the pilot in determining what control inputs will be needed in the forward slip. If the pilot deems they are too high by sight pictures or visual glide slope indicators, such as POPI or VASI lights, they should prepare to conduct a forward slip. First, the pilot should configure their aircraft for a final approach and establish an airspeed that is about 10 knots faster than the published reference speed. In Epic Flight Academy's Cessna 172s, this is between 70 and 80 knots indicated airspeed. Next, they should reduce the power to idle, decreasing the thrust being created. Based off the current winds, the pilot lowers the appropriate wing into the crosswind while simultaneously yawing the airplane in the opposite direction with full rudder, using the fuselage to create more drag and slightly lowering the nose. In calm or headwind conditions, it is up to the pilot's discretion which wing to lower. In Epic Flight Academy's Cessna 172s, any flap setting from 0 to 30 is acceptable when conducting a forward slip, and is at the discretion of the pilot based upon the conditions. The pilot adjusts their aileron and rudder inputs to maintain alignment with the runway centerline as they descend down to the runway. It is often easier to maintain full rudder input and adjust the aileron accordingly to maintain alignment with the runway. If the aircraft begins to drift upwind of the runway centerline, the pilot should reduce their bank by reducing the aileron input. If the aircraft begins to drift downwind of the runway centerline, the pilot should increase their bank by increasing their aileron input. While in the forward slip, the pilot adjusts their aircraft's pitch to maintain a desired airspeed. Due to the position of the aircraft to the relative wind, the airspeed will indicate higher than actual when slipping away from the static source, and lower than actual when slipping towards the static source. In Epic Flight Academy's Cessna 172s, pilots should maintain a minimum indicated airspeed of 60 knots indicated airspeed during this maneuver. If their airspeed is too low, the pilot lowers the nose by applying forward yoke pressure, which lowers the elevator. If the airspeed is too high, the pilot raises the nose by applying back yoke pressure, which raises the elevator. As the aircraft returns to the desired altitude and glides slope down the runway, the pilot should discontinue the forward slip by leveling the wings and simultaneously returning rudder to neutral. Then, they realign the longitudinal axis of the airplane with the center line of the runway. If landing with a crosswind, the pilot should leave some of the aileron and rudder input in to properly align the aircraft's longitudinal axis with the runway centerline while correcting for the wind. Finally, the pilot adjusts the pitch of the aircraft to maintain the normal glide attitude towards the runway as they prepare to land. Some helpful tips when conducting forward slips are: the pilot must constantly adjust the bank and pitch of the aircraft to continue descending and remain aligned with the runway. When the nose of the aircraft is lowered, the control effectiveness is increased, which causes the pilot to reduce their aileron input. Oppositely, if the nose is raised, the control effectiveness is decreased, which may require more aileron input. Be sure to apply full rudder when in a forward slip. Oftentimes, pilots do not have enough rudder input to properly slip. Do not be afraid to push the rudder all the way to the floor of the aircraft. Remember that when in a forward slip, airspeed errors will occur due to the change in the angle of relative wind in relation to the pitot tube and static port. Do not use a forward slip to salvage an unstable approach or landing. Always be ready to go around if the landing conditions are less than favorable or unsafe. Be sure to like our video and subscribe for more epic content. And while you're here, check out some of our more recent videos and playlists.